They say medicine is as much an art as it is a science. Well, today I'm going to present you some data and we'll see what kind of picture we can paint with it. Hello friends, welcome to Mr. Snayl's Wild Ride. I am Mr. Snayl and the wild ride is my life so far. It's time for another segment that we've come to call Mr. Snayl's Health Update.
Mr. Snayl's Health Update.
In the summer of 2013, I was having some problems. I would hear these annoying sounds, like distant traffic. Emotionally, things had not been normal for a while. My mood swings were getting more and more extreme. These bursts of anger, uncontrollable sobbing, sometimes even happiness, none of which had any real-world triggers. And then there were other mental issues, deja vu, headaches, difficulty recalling words. Have these hour-long conversations and the next day I would have no recall at all. I don't even know why this stuff is happening. Tests showed there weren't any physical causes for any of my problems, so in June I went to see my psychiatrist. Told him the whole story from the beginning. He actually changed my diagnosis. He also prescribed clonazepam, which is an anti-anxiety medication. He also added lamotrigine, a common treatment for bipolar disorder. But the meds he gave me didn't help. I was getting desperate, so by August I went to see a local neurologist for more tests. There were lots of big squiggly lines. Complex left temporal lobe epilepsy. Everything I'd been experiencing were symptoms of temporal lobe epilepsy. So he prescribes another drug, topiramate. It's another anti-epileptic, also used for migraines. Eventually, I was stable for quite a few months, much to my relief, and my wife's also. About 6 months later, it was time for my annual physical. This is about March of 2014. We did the usual blood work, urine tests, and so on. The lab results came back a little wonky, so we did some more tests, and that just confirmed the wonkiness. So that meant more meds. So aside from the usual gamut of potential side effects that seem to be attributable to all drugs, the pile of crazy meds that I'm on all seem to share these potential side effects that include, but are not limited to, fatigue, drowsiness, lethargy, memory loss, fatigue, and one in particular includes general cognitive impairment and potential renal problems. It wasn't long before I'd had it with the cumulative side effects of all of these drugs. I actually quit taking the most recent drug, with my doctor's consent of course, the one that was prescribed to protect my kidney, and I actually haven't started on any sort of replacement drug since. This was the first it occurred to me. We spent the entire previous summer trying to get a bunch of emergencies under control, sort of like hurriedly patching a bunch of holes in a dam. Now that those emergencies, my behavior, had been under control for several months, we could take a look at the situation more holistically. Maybe entire parts of the dam needed replacing now, instead of just sitting back and leaving all that patchwork plugging. Also, we were no closer to knowing what had happened to me than before. Why the sudden onset of bizarre behavior with no apparent cause? I don't know about other people's experiences, but when I was growing up, the idea of going to see one doctor and then going to see another doctor in a completely different place to get a second opinion, that was the kind of thing that people did on TV or in black and white movies in the olden days. In real life, you had a family doctor, someone you knew and had a relationship with, and when they gave you a referral to a specialist, it wasn't just some random guy. The family doctor had chosen them for a reason. It was because they were the best in their field, or maybe the family doctor had known them or gone to medical school with them. I mean, call me naive, but that's just how it was in my experience. Nowadays, with PPOs and HMOs being what they are, with limits on visits and in-network and out-of-network restrictions, for most people, if you get a referral and the referral is covered, you go, and that's it. Much anything else is going to come out of your pocket, and a lot of people these days can't afford it. But either way, I figured nobody really gets second opinions anymore. I was wrong. It turns out people do, and probably a lot more people should, especially when it comes to a surgery or a serious illness. Now in my case, why would I want a second opinion? What would I be looking for? Additional information? A doctor who was worried about the side effects? Supposedly a better solution to my problem? Yes. You could make the argument that my first neurologist said that the test results showed epileptic activity, and the medications he prescribed alleviated my symptoms and brought my life back under my control again. But when I asked the first neurologist about the side effects and asked about maybe modulating the dose of the medication a little bit to try to mitigate them, he wasn't interested in having that conversation. His primary concern, his only concern really, was that my symptoms were managed, which they were, mostly. The auditory and olfactory hallucinations, although they were severely diminished at first, gradually returned to their original levels. Managed at what cost? There's the general impairment of my brain altogether, drowsiness, lethargy, and an overall suckier quality of life. In June 2014, I saw a neurologist in Chicago for a second opinion about my epilepsy diagnosis. He prescribed an EEG so he could compare those data to the EEG I had in August of 2013. Irrespective of that, based on the discussions we had during the appointment, he was already convinced I did not have epilepsy. For two reasons. First, because I hadn't had any blackouts or tonic-clonic experiences. Tonic-clonic is what used to be called grand mal seizure activity. Grand mal actually literally means great sickness, which is kind of distasteful and insensitive, so that's gone out of use. Second, it turns out as many as 30% of patients seen at epilepsy centers have been misdiagnosed based largely or entirely on their EEGs being misinterpreted. This is what the Chicago neurologist believes happened to me. And after analyzing the results of the 24-hour EEG he'd ordered, he saw no seizure activity. So what does this mean? I don't know. The neurologist in Chicago didn't feel the need to see me again, since in his belief I didn't have epilepsy. He figured I could just gradually discontinue the medication if I wanted. I conferred with my psychiatrist about this, since he already was aware of the whole history and the mess that led up to my needing to take those meds in the first place. Now I'm in the midst of backing off of them, gradually, and waiting to see how that goes, and if my obsessions and erratic behavior returns. So what's next? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. And I still don't know what caused the abrupt change in my mental balance in the first place. And I may never know. I probably won't ever know. And that's really one of the most frustrating parts of this whole mess, is my entire disposition is geared toward understanding why all the time. The first thing I want to know is why. Why is this happening? Arrgh! I guess it's just another adaptation I'm going to need to make. Well, thanks for tuning in. Please click like if there was anything to like about this video, and don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every other Thursday. Stay healthy, my friends. They say medicine is as much an art as it is a science. Well, today I'm gonna... Today I'm gonna paint a picture. Comedy. Why would I want a second opinion in my case? I mean, did I want a doctor who talked about the side effects more? Was I supposed to... Now in my case, why would I want a second opinion? What would I be looking for? What would I be looking for? The auditory and whole factory. The whole factory was shut down. His only concern was that my symptoms were managed, which they were, mostly. The auditory and that was weird. He prescribed an EEG, so he had something to compare So he's going to supervise my backing off of them gradually and help to watch to see the pants,